Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to the Guerin Report on a Monday night. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Looking forward to tonight's interview because we have a guy who's, well, shall I say, qualified to talk about the enormous changes coming up in New Zealand racing. Cameron George has held so many different positions in New Zealand racing, and of course now is the Chief Executive of the One New Zealand Warriors. Evening, Cameron. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here, mate. It's good.
Mate, it's great to have you here because there is so much going on in New Zealand racing, and you're across many aspects of it. And just for those who don't know your full history, you've been the head stipendiary steward both here, and you've been in a similar role in Australia. You've obviously been the Chief Executive of Ellerslie and the chair of New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing, and you're still helping out with aspects of promotion for the NZB Kiwi and lots of other things in racing you've been involved in. With all of that in mind, how do you think New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing is dealing with the new challenges ahead and what's been a very fluid last 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, well, it certainly had its challenges, like a lot of industries, particularly over the last 3 or 4 years. And look, I think, you know, the platform that it's sitting on now, it's ready to just go to levels we've never seen before in this country. You know, it's been led by a great board, Russell Warwick as the chair, good management. But I think the industry is set. It's got its foundations right, and it's now got the right people around the table through all stakeholders to really exploit the opportunity. And I'm sure we'll look back in a couple of years to this date and it'll be a vastly different industry. Your
CV in racing is so vast, and of course you've also been at the helm of the Warriors through a very challenging time there. What is it about you that seeks these new challenges for yourself and in your business life, whereas many people would have been very happy to say any one of those previous jobs will do me for the next 20 years?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always been one to chase, the challenges and the unknown. It's, in administration in sport, there's not many people that stay in the one role. You sort of importantly go into a role that's got opportunities, you set your plan, you achieve those outcomes, and the best thing you can do, from my experience and what I've learned, is once you've achieved those, it's time to move on. The worst thing you can do, if I can put it this way, is to stay too long in one spot once you've achieved your goals. Great sporting organisations have a changeover of, administrators, leaders, whether it's chairman of boards, CEOs, commercial operations, whatever it be, to bring in and re-energise the industry, the thinking, the strategy and so on. And I've always been critical of people that sat around too long in certain roles and sort of blocked the way for new thinking and new ideas and new initiative. And
don't you think though, if you do that, and I have full respect for it, that you do lose some institutional knowledge? Say, for example, if you replace a Cameron George at the Warriors and bring in somebody new, that they have to start learning again from scratch?
Yeah, but we shouldn't be scared of that. We shouldn't be scared of the new and what comes with new people, new thinking and new strategy, new innovation. It's all so very important for sport to evolve all the time, and racing is no different. My role as a chairman was, through the COVID years, and I had my plan. I had belief in what we were setting out trying to do. A was to survive mainly, but B, we got to those outcomes that I wanted to see, and that's why I stepped away when I stepped away before the end of my tenure. And I just felt that's really important in sport. So yeah, you look through my CV, there's a few roles that I've worked through, but each one of them was a really important part of my progress and my career. And in racing, I've loved every minute of it. And then once I got to my other passion, footy, I've still got some goals there that I want to achieve before I consider, some other alternatives.
We'll get to the footy and the goals. I think I can guess which one of those is later on. Are you from a racing family? Like a lot of people we interview on the show are second or third generational racing people, but are you from a racing background?
No, not at all. Not one person in my family would be involved in racing, and the only connection they have would be through me and my career. So I did go off on a completely different path from my family's business interest, and my brothers sort of went down there, looked
Why?
after them.
Why racing?
I just was passionate about it. I started working in stables early, in Casino in New South Wales, and as you know, bush stables, you meet great people, and I just fell in love with the sport, the game, the people, and ultimately I got a career opportunity through Queensland Racing, and have just progressed through the ranks and just chased opportunities, and I just loved it from the word go. And it was probably more about the people than anything, but as I got older and more into my career, I really wanted to get involved in the commercial side of it, because I felt personally I could add some value there, and I was very excited about what you could do in racing.
Now you're removed slightly from some of these organisations you've been part of, and they are undergoing enormous change. I want to ask you about two of them separately. What have you made of what is now Auckland Thoroughbred Racing and the developments at Ellerslie, which have been challenging in their own ways over the last 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, it's awesome where they're at. Look, before my time there, had Chris Weaver, Russell Warwick, a great management team, great board. Look, what they did in those days, and I'm talking like early 2000s, has set up Ellerslie for years and years to come. And then, roll in me and Paul Kenny as my chairman, and the board, they continued on that great work. And, we started pulling the trigger on certain opportunities and, created some, pot of money, so to speak. And, it's just awesome to see that continue on through, the now administration of Paul Wilcox and Doug Alderslade and their board, and the amalgamation with, Pukekohe and so on. But the involvement hasn't stopped, and that's, that's a really exciting thing to see. And the new track now, and seeing all the, the rezoning of the land coming to life, there've been plans for years happening, and so many good people have been a part of that process. And I'm just, really proud of the club and the way they've taken it to that level now. And, it hasn't been without its challenges, but I mean, that's life. And, it's great for racing, it's great for Auckland. It's the biggest market in New Zealand, and you're starting to see people, really come along and enjoy Ellerslie for what it is now, which is truly exciting.
Waikato Thoroughbred Racing are going to try something similar, in fact, in many ways, even bigger. Are you a supporter of the Greenfields project?
Yeah, look, I don't know the numbers inside and out, so until you understand what the business case looks like, I'm only guessing from the outside. Conceptually, I think it's exciting. I think it's awesome. I can really visualise what it could look like, the role it could play in the greater racing industry, and its footprint in New Zealand. And, it's a huge, heartbeat of the industry, with all the trainers, the horses that are in work there, and just, the Waikato region is so important to our industry. So that's an involvement that could happen, and if it does, I'm sure it'll be awesome. And, I think the right people are certainly driving that opportunity, and time will tell. But from what I'm hearing, I think it's going to happen, and it's truly exciting for the industry, and they should embrace it.
A word that's going to come up a lot on this show is challenges. There's been so many challenges for so many organisations in the last 5 years. NZTR has had very specific challenges about scale, tracks, surviving, integration with a new betting service provider. Where do you think NZTR is at the moment, after what's been a tumultuous last 5 years?
Yeah, I think you've got to go back further than that. Like I look back, and I still talk to Guy Sargents and your Matt Goodsons and your Alan Jacksons and everyone else that's been involved, and all their management teams. A lot of it was about surviving. And when you're surviving, you're focused on one thing, that's cutting cost and retaining, what you can to the best level you can. And very little opportunity was presented to any of those governing bodies throughout that period to grow. Then all of a sudden we turned up one day with a great present called Entain, and it's ready to take off. And we're quickly trying to catch up from surviving to growing really quickly. And with that, you can have those growing pains, and you've just got to make sure, in my view, that everything's connected to grow together. And in doing so, that will give you a sustainable future, which is really important. And I have the utmost confidence in, you know, the board. It's a great board. You look at the people on that board, they're dynamic, they're innovative. You know, Russell himself's got great knowledge of the industry. He's forgotten more than a lot of us will ever know, but he's got great people around him. And, you know, management, and now they're based in Cambridge. We're seeing some really quality young employees coming into the system there. And I think, you know, NZTR's surviving past is gone, and we're into a growth strategy, and that's awesome.
Is it big enough? Is NZTR big enough? Because I've asked the previous Chief Executive, Bruce Sharrock, this question, and I know he would have liked 5 or 10 more staff to, to work on strategy while he's working on running the business.
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, I don't know in detail now what their structure's like, but I never felt it was big enough when I was sitting there. You know, this is a governing body of a massive, massive sport that so many people rely on to do well and achieve great outcomes. And that's for the greater good of the, you know, participants and their futures. So, again, you know, for all of these years, we've been running very streamlined in terms of our, you know, operating structure and expenses. And now I feel like you need to invest in the people, in the structure, and the output of quality employees will give you an exceptional outcomes for the industry. So they shouldn't be shy in investing in the structure, and the, you know, the support from the participants should be there to do so, because ultimately they're the ones that get the benefits from it.
Cameron, it's impossible to discuss New Zealand racing these days without discussing the Entain deal. Are you happy with how 18 months or so into that it has rolled out?
Yeah, look, I was there when it was, you know, considered, signed up, and then implemented, and away we went. And look, it's a tsunami of excitement, investment, and change. And I think the partnership with Entain's one that this industry was crying out for. We've seen the benefits of that, you know, in the immediate 12 months. We've looked at and worked with them around changes and the likes. And then now, you know, NZTR will continue to work with them in the best interest of the industry. But in a nutshell, that investment is what this industry needed. And now that we've got it, honestly, I think we're ready to take off. And, you know, they'll all work together, get those goals set, get the outcomes that we want. And I couldn't have thought of a better partner than Entain to achieve that with NZTR.
A question without notice. Having been someone who's been inside NZTR and seen the numbers close up, had we not signed a deal with Entain or anybody else who could provide that cash injection, had we not signed that, where would New Zealand racing be? Because when I think of that question, I don't like the answer.
Yeah, it was a pretty dark time. We're just coming out of the back of COVID, and, you know, we survived, and it was then about the reset, the rebuild, and so on. And whilst we were really up on our toes to try and build the industry back up again, it would have been a very difficult task, and there would have been some tough decisions made, and not popular decisions. And they were all sitting on the table about how and what the future could look like. But with this partnership and investment, it's allowed NZTR to really invest in stakes and, you know, other opportunities in the industry through technology, upgrades, just through the promotion of the industry, you know, the summer calendar, which has excited and ignited the industry. So, yeah, without a doubt, without Entain, we wouldn't have been able to do that, but also without the board of NZTR and their thinking and management and the likes, working with them, we've been able to put a format in place where it's distributed out, you know, to strategically grow the industry, which is awesome.
You always seem to be coming up with new ideas and concepts. You seem to be very growth oriented. one of those things you were part of the genesis for was the NZB Kiwi. You've even now got a small part in the Kingsman slot. We're a month out. Do you think the NZB Kiwi, the first running, is going to be what we hoped for? Now it's just around the corner.
Without a doubt. Look, I've been really close to the growth of it since we announced it, and you know, right from the point of the concept being a Kiwi orientated, you know, race through eligibility criteria, right through to the name, through to the partnership with New Zealand Bloodstock, the auction, everything was different, everything was innovative, everything was, you know, not seen before in a lot of ways. So the whole process has been a great build-up. Now we're starting to see the real action start to happen where horses are being named in slots. There's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of people watching races, you know, in Australia and here looking for that New Zealand, you know, bred or sold Kiwi horse that could be eligible for it. It's, you know, the PR value that we're getting from this is huge. And, you know, it's been on, you know, free-to-air TV. It's been on so many platforms that racing would not normally have got there if it wasn't for the NZB Kiwi. And it's, you know, and it's what it stands for and so on. So really excited about that day. And, you know, the Barfoot and Thompson Champions Day is going to be massive, absolutely massive for this industry, not only for the industry, but as a sporting event in New Zealand. And what it's created is what I like to see in sport, and every sport has it, is a moment. Every year you create a moment, and I feel like the NZB Kiwi is going to create that. As soon as that horse goes past the post, we've got to have the music blaring, we've got to be celebrating, and it's going to be a very good race when you look at the horses in the slot race, and that's going to be our moment. Racing can really stand tall in the public arena, which our sport deserves.
When you were the boss at Ellerslie, you were trying to make racing, for example, the Twilight's an entertainment product. You are now obviously ensconced in the NRL, where it is a magnificent entertainment product. What can racing learn from organisations like the NFL or the NRL about making racing that entertainment product you just spoke about?
Yeah, well, I suppose, excuse me, I suppose it's moving yourself from being a racing club to an entertainment venue.
Is that what the Warriors have done?
Yeah, look, and I'll touch on that briefly, but you know, taking yourself from a racing club mindset to an entertainment venue, and you know, the Warriors came back from COVID with nothing. Well, we had nothing, so we started afresh, and our whole strategy there was get the people through the gates, invest in them, and then they'll do our talking. Okay, let the public go out and sell the Warriors. And so we invested a lot of time and effort, not so much money, into that experience the minute you walk through the gate. And if we could fill the stadiums, it meant that our merchandise went really well, the food and beverage went extremely well. It meant the experience was high impact, it was exciting, and it meant that they went away and told their friends to come back next time. And that just dovetailed. When the fans are talking about your sport, that's better than any marketing plan you can ever put in.
So how do you get them in the gate? Because there'll be people watching this thinking, well, that's great, but is it social media? Is it integration in the community? How do you get people to want to come to the event before you make it this big entertainment product?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So part of this strategy was we really invested in social media. We really took our club from the training field and put it into the phones and the laptops and the iPads and the whatever it be, into the lounge rooms of everyone around the country. And we took a really serious approach to engaging, high-level engaging. And that then took our club and put us everywhere around the country. And then once we had that engagement and that emotional connection, they started coming through the gates. And then, you know, it was all about just entertaining them. And the thing about racing is, and if we look at the Barfoot and Thompson Champions Day coming up, you know, if there's 10 races, let's say 12 till 6, 10 races average 3 minutes a race. There's only 30 minutes of racing action. You've got 5.5 hours there to entertain. And people want it, they want to be having things priced right. So first and foremost, we price our product at the Warriors, we win, there's a $10 deal. It's more important for me to get people in the gate than it is than having them sitting outside the gate. And once they get in there, they create the atmosphere. So from a racing aspect, price it right, get people in there, and then high energy entertainment all day. If you can get Ronan Keating singing at a key race day or someone like that, pay the money to do it, because you'll only do it the once and then the fans will go and talk about it and they'll bring people back next time for you. And if we can keep that momentum up in racing, you'll start to bring people back through the gate. It's different. It's all about entertainment now. And racing, as I said, it's only about 30 minutes of the whole day. What are they doing for the other 5.5 hours?
Lots of us love footy, but we don't take over football clubs. What was that transition like from being the boss at Ellerslie to, over a period of time, being the chief executive of an NRL club? Without being rude, you didn't have the pedigree to do so. So what was that like? Because heaps of league outsiders would have seen you as the racing guy.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. A lot of racing people have stepped into the footy world. Brian Fletcher, head of the Panthers, Peter Volandis naturally, myself. There's been previous ones too. But I just felt the time was right at Ellerslie. I'd done my part, and as I said, I'd set my plan and got my goals in place, and we achieved those. And the time was right to go into my other passion, which is footy. And you know, the Warriors mean so much to me.
Why? You're an Australian naturally. Why do the Warriors mean so much to you?
Because with our owner, Mark Robinson, we just want to make New Zealand proud, and it's a tough sport. There's only, you know, I'm one of 17 in the world in this role, and we're only one of 17 clubs in the world, and it's something that hasn't been achieved before for New Zealand, and I really want the One New Zealand Warriors to win this competition for the people of New Zealand. It makes you so proud that and we're building it up from within, and you know, people are going to have their say and opinion on things, and you know, but I'm just so proud to be in the role. I feel privileged, and you know, last year we sold out every game, so you know, we're working really hard to make New Zealand proud, and if we can win the competition, you know, it'll be extremely satisfying for us all, and particularly our owner. And you know, when I went there, that's been my ambition to do that, but we had a few little bumpy years along the way for various reasons, and that's okay.
It wasn't your only ambition. Your other ambition was to change the culture of the Warriors. A lot of people won't know, when the Warriors leave the building after a game, they all leave up the stairs from the changing rooms, through the administration block, so they can thank the often nameless staff who work to make the club work. Why was culture, and why is culture so important in what is effectively a business?
Well, it's everything. Good people get you great results, and you know, it's taken a few years, but I genuinely feel like for the first time we've got the best people in the right roles, and with that you create a great culture. And we're in such a high pressure environment. Like, you know, we have, you know, emotional fan base that want to see you win. You've got media, both sides of the Tasman, and so on and so on. And you know, when you've got great people in your organisation doing it for the right reason, you get the right outcome when times are tough. And anyone can be a winner, but you know, it's easy to come out talking when you're winning. But the most important thing for me as a leader is to make sure our culture is rock solid when we are going through a tough time. And when you've got the best people in the right roles, those times are made easier by having a good culture that's bred by great people. And you know, don't worry about when you're winning, it's how you react when you're going through a tough time. We
all have our wins and losses, particularly our racing viewers. They have more than most. How do you block out that noise? How do you block out that Webby is coach of the year one year and should be gone the next year according to social media, and that's very emotively based? How do you block that out of your mind to keep on the pathway you've set for the Warriors? Yeah, look, it's getting more difficult. Because of social media? Yeah. It's getting, you know, really challenging for young staff. You've got to try and protect them as best you can. And just on a personal note, like I try and I understand who the knockers are. And look, they're guys and ladies that may sit in dark rooms and they've created a blog site, and you know, they're not credible. They're knockers. Doesn't matter what you do, they're going to be knockers, and that's why they're in those, you know, keyboard warrior
mindsets because no one will employ them, and otherwise they'll be working alongside you as a credible journalist, you know. But that's why they're there. They're knockers. What you can't do is get the knockers confused with people who just have a different opinion. And I assure myself that I know who the knockers are. I just completely ignore those and I just take them out of my mindset. But I also respect the people that do have a differing view, and that's important. That as a leader, you can't just all put them in the knockers basket. You know, some people just genuinely might have a different view, and you got to understand what that could be, and you got to listen to them.
Well, they could be right.
And they could be right, and you might have to pivot with some of your things that you're doing with your plans, and take that on board. And you know, I learn off a lot of people, but it is getting more challenging. But you leave those people in the dark rooms on their keyboards and forget about them. But for me, you know, personally, through all that process, and it's taken a while to get to this, you know, it's a lot of years of putting up with knockers. I know the people that mean the world to me, and they're the people that support you, and they're not necessarily the people that are there patting you on the back when you're winning. They're the people that ring you when you're going through tough times. And, you know, I know who those people are. I'll go to war for them, and, you know, they're the people that mean the most to me. And I just hope that with all the social media and the change in the media landscape, that person that just can create a website and write whatever they want to write without a job or any oversight of the person's feelings that they're attacking, I just hope it doesn't have a huge impact on the younger generation coming through, because I've seen it at my place at the Warriors where it's really knocked a few people around. And you know, my job is to make sure I can protect them as much as I can, and that's why I'll come out swinging sometimes to, you know, when we're going through a tough time, just to deflect a few things from, you know, from the organisation. So there's always a strategy.
Right. No, you have to pay the piper. Everybody who comes on the show, we ask for their best. You have to do too. I want to know your best horse you've ever seen, and I want to know, because you're the boss of the Warriors, the best league player you've ever seen. Horse first, please.
Favourite horse?
Favourite horse, best horse?
Sunline.
They sort of gel together often.
Sunline. I just loved her. I was a steward in Sydney at the time, and I still remember the day when she beat Shagon Lodge by, you know, a head. I think she broke the $10 million barrier, it was in prize money barrier, and I got the official photo finish from the judge upstairs, and I got Trevor McKee to sign it and Greg Charles to sign it, and still got it at home somewhere. And yeah, she was an awesome horse, and so privileged then to have worked alongside Trevor and Sticko and the likes.
League player?
League players, I got a dead heat. I got a dead heat.
Oh, okay.
I have, and there's two reasons. One is Brad Fittler, without a doubt. He was unbelievable, great leader, really inspirational on the field and so on. And my good old mate Stacey Jones. You know, Stacey's a god in this game. He's and not only great player and, you know, stature right up here, but the person he is makes him a better player as well. He doesn't understand the standing he's got in this game. You can't walk anywhere in Australia with Stacey without him being, you know, called out to photos.
I've seen it. It's amazing.
Yeah, he is global, but you wouldn't know that. But him and Brad Fittler for sure.
Mate, thank you for everything you've done for New Zealand racing, for Ellerslie, for NZTR, for the NZB Kiwi. Good luck there. And I have to say it, 2025, up the wires.
Up the wires, mate. And yeah, just can't wait for Barfoot and Thompson Champions Day, the NZB Kiwi, and the industry to do so well. It means a lot to me, and I know they're in great hands. Thanks for watching the Guerin Report. It's great to have your company here on a Monday night. Something very different from a man who can talk about so many of the issues which are crucial to us with that little bit of distance and put them in perspective. We'll be back next week on the Guerin Report, 8 o'clock on Trackside and trackside.co.nz.